Hey peeps, Tyler here with my Disability Pride Month book recommendations part 2. There will be one more part after this, I think. Just one more, but yeah. And hopefully I'll read more and have more in the future. The first one I have here is A Quick and Easy Guide to Sex and Disability by A. Andrews. It's just a little, booklet thing. And it's a graphic novel. This very quick and easy guide, as it even says on the front, should be required reading, whether you are disabled, have a disabled partner, or just want to know how it works. That's my quick review. I gave it however many years ago. In 2020. Yeah. But it's just a basic, because if you are not disabled and your partner is not disabled, one or both of you probably will be eventually. It's just something that if you don't need, somebody you know needs, and you will probably need at some point. That's not meant to be depressing, it's just part of life. Then I have Care Work, Dreaming Disability Justice. I have to put that back up so I can see. There we go. And I am reading the reviews I'd written back when I read them initially, which is mostly a few years ago, but this is nonfiction essays about disability justice by disabled queer femmes of color. So much is packed into this book. As a queer, disabled, AFAB person, there was so much I related to. If you're new here, hi, I'm a trans man. I swear it helped heal something inside of me, and as a white person, there is so much that I learned from. If you are abled, or white, or mask, or cishet, honestly, I highly recommend this book to everybody. I initially read it on Hoopla. My initial review says I need to buy myself a copy so I can reread and annotate it. I did read it. I have not reread it yet. I do need to do that. But I remember absolutely loving this, so I really do need to reread it. And I gave it 5 stars. I probably gave all of them 5 stars. I don't know. In this collection of essays, she explores the politics and realities of disability justice, a movement that centers the lives and leadership of sick and disabled queer, trans, black, and brown people with knowledge and gifts for all. Care Work is a mapping of access as radical love, a celebration of the work that sick and disabled queer people of color are doing to find each other and to build power and community, and a toolkit for everyone who wants to build radically resilient, sustainable communities of liberation where no one is left behind. Powerful and passionate care work is a crucial and necessary call to arms. And then Disabled Voices, which is an anthology. I'll have timestamps in the titles and authors in the description. This is an amazing anthology of diverse disabled voices. It has a mix of fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and artwork. It has a variety of disabilities represented, both physical and neurodiversities. It has authors of color, queer, non-binary, and trans writers and artists. It is packed with awesome. I related to some as a fellow disabled queer person and learned from others about specific disabilities I don't have. I loved nearly everything in here. It is by disabled voices for disabled people. So yeah, I loved this anthology so much. I don't know if there's some artwork I can share here. And then this last I checked, is actually on KU, and seems like it's been on KU for a while. This is Confessions of Butterflies Living in Pain. Trigger warning for unalive mention. This book is about living with chronic pain, told from the perspective of people with fibromyalgia specifically, but as someone with chronic pain for different reasons, and was born with said reasons, factual association, there's no such thing as too young for chronic pain, I still found a lot to relate to. So many experiences I've also had, so many of the same feelings. If you have chronic pain, you will likely find a lot to relate to in these pages. If you do not have chronic pain, I'd highly recommend picking up this book to understand those of us that do a bit better. Please listen to us. It's real, raw, and honest. The guilt, even though I don't know fibromyalgia specifically, the chronic pain brings up a lot of the same feelings, regardless of why somebody has it, because there's so many reasons for chronic pain, and it just always sucks. The guilt, feeling like a burden, constantly apologizing when it isn't our fault, wanting to die simply to end the suffering and pain, the exhaustion that is so much more than normal tired, the depression, the not being believed, even and especially by doctors. It talks about being young and in chronic pain. When you imagine someone in chronic pain, you probably don't imagine anyone under the age of 50. Personally, I was born into my chronic pain. Let that sink in. It is getting worse as I get older. I'm speaking for myself only. However, I do not know what a second without pain is like. I've had chronic pain since I was born as a baby. There's no such thing as too young. Please, we need to end that stigma of too young. How much doctors just ignore us, refuse to listen, bounce us around, become jaded, and stop trying. There have been multiple times I know I should have went to the ER, but at that point it's like, why bother? Will they even listen this time? And hoping this would be the final time. And to be completely honest, feeling disappointed each time it wasn't the final time. I mean, if it was, I wouldn't still be here. So, how much longer of this can I take? It's been, at the time I wrote this review that I'm reading, I was 31. I'm 35 now. But I'd said it's been 31 long, painful years. Quote, we used to be afraid of the S word. I can't even say it because, at least I don't think I can say it on YouTube. We used to be afraid of the S word. If someone used it, all hell would break loose. People would panic, lose their minds with fear. After a while, after we became comfortable with one another, we began using the S word openly and honestly. Sometimes I want to die. Sometimes unalive. Feels like my only option. Sometimes I wish the pain would end. That doesn't mean we are... Can I just say the word? Suicidal? I don't know how to unalive that word. So I'm just gonna fucking restart it and say it. We used to be afraid of the S word. If someone used it, all hell would break loose. People would panic, lose their minds with fear. After a while, after we became comfortable with one another, we began using the S word openly and honestly. Sometimes I want to die. Sometimes suicide feels like my only option. Sometimes I wish the pain would end. That doesn't mean we are suicidal. It's not a threat, and it's certainly not a cry for attention. It's a part of our disease. It is a side effect of never-ending pain and fatigue. Doctors tell us our pain is actually depression. Well, Doc, if you experienced pain and fatigue and the rest of the symptoms we do every single day with no relief, I bet you'd be a bit depressed too. Sometimes the want to make it stop gets so bad. Not because I want to die, no, it's because it hurts too much to live. But I can't do that, not to my kids, so I pull it together and drive my pain deeper. Sarah R. Like I said, that was a quote from the book. End quote. I ended the quote. Anyway. The disease being fibromyalgia, of course, but I related so hard to this as someone with chronic pain. Another quote. Remember the worst pain you've ever felt? Maybe a car accident or broken bones? Now imagine feeling that every day for the rest of your life. Then imagine that no one believes you, so no one will help you. The pain keeps you from participating in life, and you watch friends and family carry on, pain-free, without you. Would you be a ball of sunshine? So when we talk about suicide, we aren't talking about ending our life. We are talking about ending our pain and suffering. There is a difference. And I know that very well. because I used to think of unaliving myself every damn day. Now I've transitioned, and I don't do that anymore. But the chronic pain's not going to go anywhere. So yeah, I get that a lot. Listen to us, be there for us, and most of all, let us speak. End quote. Of course, I kept putting my own notes in there, but you know. I am a chronic pain warrior, I am strong, and I am tired. I just want us to be heard, to be listened to. This isn't a hopeless book, it's just real and honest. It's also short, only about 60 pages, and on Kindle Unlimited if you have it. The next book I don't actually own, because I read it through a library I could no longer access because it was out of state. But it's called Bodies Are Cool by Tyler Fetter. And I said this is a wonderful children's picture book filled with body positivity for all bodies. They show several different disabilities, colostomies, canes, and more, skin colors, races, sizes, ages, trans guy chest scars, kinds of hair, hairy and not hairy, scars, birthmarks, and more. There's so much body positivity in that beautiful book. Like I said, that's a children's picture book. So if you wanted Bodies Are Cool by Tyler Fetter, or maybe a disabled or even abled child to see diverse bodies, that is a great book. Rare and Resilient, The 1 in 5,000 Anthology by Greg Ryan. Which is the same guy that wrote one of the books in part 1, A Secret Life. So this is a bit of one. I was born, well, maybe I should read it first, or explain it. Rare and Resilient, 1 in 5,000 is, this book describes with raw honesty and deep emotion the journeys that families go on when their child is born with an imperforate anus, IA, also known as anorectal malformation arm. It is a rare congenital condition that affects 1 in 5,000 births, which is very rarely talked about or known in the wider community. And as I talked about it more in the first part, and both me and Greg were born with imperforate anus, as well as everybody who wrote in this anthology. It reveals the many difficulties, both emotionally and physically, that babies, children, and adults living with IA/arm endure. It is a book filled with love, courage, resilience, and hope. It shows the importance of having access to good information and medical staff who are compassionate and knowledgeable in the unnecessary suffering that occurs when that is unavailable. Above all, it recognizes that the IA/arm community looks after each other and is playing an increasingly important role in providing sound information and support. The response of the IA/arm community from all around the world to Greg's requests for stories for this book is a powerful example of how the community is working together. This book is a must-read for health professionals and teachers who play such a significant role in the lives of each IA/arm child, adolescent, and adult. Considering IA is something that you are always born with. Every IA adult used to be an IA child. Every single one. It will also enlighten extended families, friends, and the wider community about this relatively unknown condition. Reading the stories is inspiring and heart-wrenching. It is about babies, children, and adults who have strong spirits and big hearts. It is also about the power of love as parents battle their way through the often confusing health systems, and the relief when unanswered questions are finally resolved. So my review from when I read it a few years ago is, I was born with imperforate anus, IA, aka no butthole, like 1 in 5,000 people around the world. Yes, it's real. There is no cure as it causes other lifelong issues even after surgery. I have always been, and always will be, incontinent. I used to do enemas, called them alone. I currently have a colostomy. Again, I had one as a baby. I also have other issues related to Bacterial Association. It used to be called Vader syndrome, as many of us born with IA/arm do, but not all, and ARM stands for anorectal malformation. It's not laziness, it's an invisible disability that causes pain, trauma, medical procedures, doctor visits, surgeries, etc. Each person with IA can have a different story. Some have more issues, some have less. What works for one person might not work for the next. It also causes a lot of shame. And growing up when I did, the internet barely existed. And as a teen, I had internet, but it was dial-up. And certainly not like it is now. Now we have Facebook groups and ways to talk to others in the same boat, which is amazing. But I and many others didn't have that growing up, and some still don't depending on where they live or their situation. So we literally felt completely alone, like no one understood, because it's so rare. I'm in my 30s, and to my knowledge, I've never met anyone else with Vactral or IA arm. Though it is an invisible disability, so who knows, I might have. The shame and stigma need to end, but it's going to be hard getting there as these issues are so taboo. There needs to be more awareness and understanding, something Greg Ryan and the 1 in 5,000 Foundation are working towards. It is so wonderful on one hand to read these stories, to see myself in so much of them, to know there are others out there who understand, going through the same things. Feeling all alone is the absolute worst. But on the other, it's a double-edged sword, as I would never wish these issues on anyone. No. Not even my worst enemy. After that, though, I must mention, there is also plenty of hope in these pages, also plenty of emotion, and it is heart-wrenching. I haven't even reread it in the past few years, and I want to fucking cry again. I'm beginning to see just how strong I am, but can I please get a break? And yes, that was the last sentence of my review. And the last book I don't think I own. No, I read it on Scribd. So I don't have this one either. And actually it was called Scribd at the time, now it's Everend. But it's called Seeing Red. The author's name will be in the description. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing this. But it's Seeing Red by Lina. Meruane? I'm positive I butchered that. I'm sorry. Anyway, the synopsis is Lucina, a young Chilean writer, has moved to New York to pursue an academic career. While at a party one night, something that her doctors had long warned might happen finally occurs. Her eyes hemorrhage. Within minutes, blood floods her vision, reducing her sight to sketched outlines and tones of gray, rendering her all but blind. As she begins to adjust to a very different life, those who love her begin to adjust to a very different woman, one who is angry, raw, funny, sinister, sexual, and dizzyingly alive. I ended up giving this 4 stars, apparently, and my review said, because I don't actually remember much about this at this point, it said a mix of autobiography and fiction of her losing her sight makes me wonder what is true and what isn't, but didn't lessen my enjoyment of horror and sadness as are related to some of the feelings, being dependent on others because of disability, though I'm not blind, so I know that's different. It has little sections, no paragraphs. Is them? I don't know. It doesn't stop. I thought it would make it harder to read, but it made me read faster. It was a fast read and an engaging one. It's messy and real. So yeah. Those are my 7 books for this part. Five of them physically. Like I said, there will be another part coming up, and I think that's it for now, but because I live with a disability, I will, of course, read more. I have more books on my shelf that I haven't read yet, and many more books that I want to read. So, yes. Have you read any of these? What are some books about disability, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, that you've read and enjoyed? If you have any recommendations, leave them in the description. Yeah, in the description. Leave them in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.